Today's video is going to be a little bit different than usual, guys. I want to talk about how to control recoil on every single gun, and to get us started, I want to talk about sensitivity first of all. So in the background here, I'm going to be showing you guys my sensitivity that I currently use. I use 35 vertical, 55 horizontal, 5 on the left dead zone, on the left stick dead zone, and then 3 on the right stick dead zone. And then also my advanced settings are really important as well. Now I am using Glybo's advanced settings. I highly recommend to slap this on your settings whenever you can, and the reason why is because it just makes your recoil control feel a lot smoother when you're on a controller, as well as like your overall feel, if that makes sense. So like one of the issues that I was having was that it always felt like my recoil control was like kind of stuck in the mud. Like sometimes I would try to like flick to somebody, but I would be too slow. Like I would get like stuck, if that makes sense, before I'm actually able to like flick over, if that makes sense. So when I put on those advanced settings, it just helped me out a lot, and it also made my overall recoil control better with like a lot of my other weapons, like the F2. Like I don't even play the F2 like that, but it was always one of those guns where like all my sensitivity, I was never able to actually use it like properly, if that makes sense. So ever since I put those advanced settings on, it's been a lot better. Now I am using 24 on my 1x scope and 31 on my ACOG scope, as well as everything else that's also zoomed in. I'm using 31. I don't really play like sniper rifles or DMRs or anything like that though, so that doesn't really matter that much to me. Now when it comes to overall recoil control, it's very important to understand that most of it is going to come from muscle memory. Obviously you got to pull down in the direction of where the recoil is going. So if your recoil is going up and to the right, you want to pull down and to the left to counteract that, if that makes sense. However, the one thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, I'm just going to assume that you guys already know about that, and you're already like, you know what I mean, you already know how to like shoot straight for the most part. I'm going to go ahead and actually talk about something a little bit different in today's video. I've been playing for about 9 years now, and I feel like nobody really told me about this. A lot of other players do it, but like a lot of people don't really like talk about it in terms of like getting better. So it's like a hidden gunfight tech that I wanted to share with you guys today, and it's basically like what I'm doing in the background for this clip right here, where I'm crouching mid gunfight. So like let's pretend there was a person on that doorway that I just shot at. Like right here, for example, let's pretend there's a guy on the doorway right here. I'm just taking a crouch mid gunfight. However, the other thing that I'm doing that a lot of people aren't really noticing is that I'm also centering my crosshair as I'm taking the gunfight. So I'm centering crosshair, I'm crouching mid gunfight. Now I'm going to try to break this down as best as I can while this clip in the background is playing. But long story short, when you crouch mid gunfight, like as you're about to take a gunfight, there's two benefits to this. The first benefit is that if you do it right when somebody sees you and they have good crosshair placement, like they're a champ level player, they're going to shoot over the top of your head. So you're going to get yourself a very easy kill onto them. And I'm going to show you guys a live example of what I mean by that. So right here, I'm in a 1v1 position with Thermite on Lair. The bomb is down. I'm going to have to force a gunfight onto him. So right here, I'm going to force a gunfight. As I take the gunfight with him, I crouch mid gunfight. He's a champ level player. He's aiming at my head, but since I crouch, he's now going to be shooting over the top of my right shoulder in that position. So he's going to shoot over the top of me, basically. So I'm going to get myself a very easy kill on him to secure the round. Now, the second benefit to crouching mid gunfight is actually going to be very easily understood if you've played like another game like Valorant or COD or something of that nature. But when you crouch mid gunfight, your recoil control actually becomes very slightly easier to control, if that makes sense. And the reason why this is important to know about is because if you are the type of player where you play like the F2 or you play the SMG-12 where the gun has like a lot of recoil, if you're able to crouch mid gunfight while you're taking a gunfight, first you're going to get that first benefit, but you're also going to get that added benefit of having better recoil control as you're taking that engagement. However, you do have to learn to control recoil while you're crouching, which is the only difficult part to learn when it comes about this tech. Now, the other part of this tech that I want to talk about is the centering of your crosshair. And the reason why this is important is because like in that background clip right there, I know that this guy's gonna be on the right side of this window here, so I'm gonna go ahead and spray across. I'm centering my crosshair as I crouch, and I'm basically dragging across the window in that position. So I'm basically nailing down the entire window frame in that position, and I'm locking down every single angle that that player could be playing on in that position. And the reason why that's important, and remember guys, if you're crouching mid gunfight and you're playing against a better player, when you crouch mid gunfight, they're going to shoot over the top of your head. So right there when I swung those head holes, I crouched and he shot over the top of my head, and at the same time I was centering my crosshair across the window while shooting, while controlling recoil, and basically I was able to hit every single part of that window, right? which is essentially causing me to close the angle as I'm making that motion. Does that make sense? So what that means is that the enemy player doesn't really have a chance of counteracting me in that position, so I'm able to get myself a very easy kill on him, and there's not really much he can do about it. Now, the one thing that I will say about this gunfight tech is that whenever you're playing the opposite angle, if that makes sense. So, like, for example, in that last clip on Villa right there, I swung the vault doorway. I wasn't closing the angle. I just crouched mid-gunfight. That's all I did, okay? So, in that position, Jaeger isn't actually losing anything against me when I take that gunfight onto him. I'm just simply crouching mid-gunfight. That's all I'm doing, okay? You want to try to do the crouch tech when you are closing the angle. Does that make sense? You are trying to close an angle, okay? So if somebody is on an angle that you know that they're on that angle, you want to basically swing wide, right? And then while swinging wide, you want to crouch, center your crosshair, control your recoil across to close the angle on whatever position of that doorway that they're going to be playing on. And this is going to cause you to have a lot higher success rate when you're taking gunfights. And I'm not saying you're going to be perfect when you're starting out. If this is like brand new to you, if this sounds like rocket science, I apologize. There's probably a better way of explaining this concept to you than how I am currently portraying it. But I feel like there's no other content creator on this game right now that's explaining this specific technology, I guess, when it comes to taking gunfights. And I feel like in the terms of like a higher ranked player, like, if you don't know how to do this, it's like very hard for you to actually win a lot of your gunfights consistently. Now, the one thing I will say is that you don't technically have to crouch when you're closing the angle. You could technically close the angle always by just stand swinging somebody, and then if you know somebody's on a doorway and you stand swing them, basically you could technically hit your crosshair to center it to basically close the angle that way as well. You're just losing that extra benefit of crouching mid gunfight, which, like I said, guys, just recently I learned about this, so it's not like it's the end of the world. Like I said, I've been playing for like 9 years now, and it's not like that I wasn't doing this at all in any of my gunfights. It's like I would do it, but I wouldn't even realize that I was doing it. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, I hit champ so often, and I win my gunfights so often, and a lot of the times I'll be doing this, and even the best players in the world, they do this stuff too, and they probably don't even realize that they're doing this. And I just feel like this type of video is important to talk about it, from a more scientific approach, if that makes sense, or a more theory crafting approach, because there's gonna be players just like me who, if they hear it from a theory craft approach, they're gonna start being able to apply it in their day-to-day gunfights, you know what I mean, while they're playing ranked. This next clip, we have another example. However, this time we're going to actually be applying the gunfight tech after we get our first kill. So you're going to see here, there's one guy on the left side of this double door. He kills my sledge in this position. My Monty is going to go ahead and walk up. He's going to get shot in the back here. We're going to swing aggressively to get the refrag. And then the guy that killed my Monty is going to go ahead and swing aggressively here for the refrag. But I'm going to crouch mid gunfight. That warden with the SMG-12 is going to shoot right over the top of my head. Now, the thing about that warden right there is that he was wide swinging in one direction. So I'm actually able to crouch right there, lean to the right, and he's basically going to be going only to the left, so I'm able to just wall bang him right through the wall because he's moving in one direction. And when you're moving in one direction, that basically means that eventually, if I just close the angle, I did lean to the right there, I should have just centered. However, since I leaned to the right, I was basically putting my gunfire directly onto him in that position. But if I did center, I would still be able to just drag across the angle to close it to get myself a very easy kill onto that warden in that position. Now, this final clip, we're going to be over on Oregon bunker here, and I'm playing Malusi here. Now, the idea that I'm looking for here is that I'm trying to prevent the enemy team from walking in bunker, but I'm also going to be playing for the back stairs. Now, there's two important gunfights here that I'm looking for, and one of those gunfights is actually going to be quick peeking for the bunker barrels in this position. And like I said, you don't have to crouch when you're taking the quick peek. You don't really necessarily need to do that. You don't have to close the angle or do anything like that. If you're just quick peeking people, you can just hit your crosshair in and out and you're fine. You're good to go. It doesn't have to be a Hasham peek like a lot of people are doing right now, where you do a what is it, a prone peek or whatever, right? You don't need to do all of that. Like I said, you don't have to get that sweaty, you know what I mean? But I do feel like the gunfight tech, in my opinion, is probably a lot better than doing all that Hasham peeking garbage, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of the times if you're doing a Hasham peek, you're probably already in a losing position. Now, the one thing I will say is that with these guys, there is going to be a guy that's going to eventually walk down my back stairs in this position. And the idea that I'm looking for is that when this guy goes on the platform, I'm going to be doing that same concept as before, where I'm going to close the angle on when this person is on the platform, because usually when people go on the platform for the back stairs, they're going to be sitting on the angle for pillar, if that makes sense. So when I swing aggressively for that angle, I'm basically going to be already in the motion of closing the angle every single time I swing that, which is going to essentially allow me to get myself a free kill. You're going to see right here, I'm going to be closing the angle as I take the gunfight. I didn't even see that guy yet, but I was already closing the gunfight, so I was able to get myself a free kill on the guy walking down backstairs in that position. And right here, we're going to do a little bit of quick peeking, get ourselves another free kill on somebody on the bunker double door that was playing on the barrels, and get ourselves a nice little freebie right there, putting us into a 4v3 position. Unfortunately, my teammates are going to sell, and we're going to end up losing this round. I'm going to get one more pick before I end up dying, but hopefully this video actually helped you guys out. I really hope that this helped you guys out, and hopefully I explained it well enough. Let me know down in the comments if it helped you.